What's up, everybody? Marco Romano and Tito Yang here with another
Hello.
episode of Serie Addicts, looking at match day 28 of the Serie A. Kicking things off with Napoli versus Torino, the defending champs, getting a few players back from the injury list, at least one key player in Sambo Anguissa,
Finally.
which already, and I think De Bruyne also played in this one, which was not expected. So getting a couple of players back from the injury leagues that were much needed for Napoli, I think it would have been a completely different season for Napoli if they had some of those players on the pitch for the majority of the season,
Absolutely.
including Lukaku, who also came in as a sub on this one. But for me, in my opinion, where we talked about it, Anguissa has been the biggest miss for Napoli in that midfield. Um, so 2-1 victory in this one for Napoli. A great goal from Alison Santos, one of the surprises for Napoli this season. Beautiful one-on-one goal, taking on the defender. Uh, Moves it to the right and scores a beautiful goal for Napoli to open up the score for the defending champions. A great talent. I think that's a good prospect for Napoli moving forward.
Yeah, definitely. It's I mean it's good for them because it gives them depth and they desperately need us as we have seen like when they're missing some of their key players, it's become very hard for them to start getting results. So I mean anything they can get from an unexpected source is great. Torino, I think I wasn't expecting them to give uh, Napoli such a hard time. I guess they
They had a couple of chances, but mainly Napoli dominated
Yeah,
the
but in terms
game.
of the scoring, right? Like they Napoli was comfortably up 2-0, like in the 68th, but Torino didn't stop trying, right? They did get that 87th minute with Casadei, so at least their attitude was correct. I think here in this game it was just a matter of talent, right? Like if you compare, especially from the midfield on and to the back, Napoli is way more solid than Torino is for now.
And now Napoli have a variety of weapons, right? Alison Santos playing well, a great option to Neres, who's out with an injury as well for them, who was playing very well before he got injured. But now having Lukaku, having De Bruyne, having Anguissa back, definitely a danger to Juventus and some of the other teams fighting for those Champions League spots. Because now Napoli have their squad back and should make a good run towards the end of the season here. Great
Absolutely.
goal from Elmas as well for the second for Napoli, and Casares' goal as well. A couple of passes from inside the box finally falls to Casares, who heads it in to give Torino to put Torino at least on the score sheet. But I agree with you; it was just a matter of the difference in talent between both sides. At the end of the day, too much talent on Napoli's favor, and they're able to to take away the victory in this one.
Yep. And Napoli needed it, right? Because the race is getting tighter and tighter all the time. So now they're back in with a little bit of a shout. I mean, I think I'm still holding on to what I said last week. I still think Inter are in the best possible position, and I think they've lost the points that they were gonna lose. That was it. That was all the points they were gonna lose, is what I think, right? Because Europe is not a thing anymore. They still got 7 on their second closest follower, so it's
Yeah,
hard. It's gonna be hard to catch up because that was
yeah.
it. That was Milan shot. Like, and that's all they're gonna get. I think I could be wrong.
But Napoli, right, still sitting third in the table, right? So
Yeah,
in a good position to earn one of those Champions League spots.
yeah. But I'm not. I don't think
And
they're gonna be a title contender just with the inconsistency that they've had, and even with
no,
Santos.
I think for Napoli, it's definitely a little bit too late, right? They're 11 points behind Inter.
Yeah, exactly.
There's no way Inter are going to drop 11 points. With the amount of games left in the season, I would say the only one that's still, like it's been, the only one that really has a shot is Milan. But Milan have to also have a flawless run and depend on Inter dropping some points, right? So let's see what happens. They're playing against Atalanta this next weekend without Bastoni. So it can happen. I'm not saying that it won't. There's still a possibility. thought we talked about the fact that if Inter won the derby, that would have been completely different, and we'll talk about the derby a little bit later. But I think Napoli in a good position, again contending for Serie a Champions League spot, but certainly not contending for the title anymore.
Yeah, I think the title race, unless Inter have just like a terrible slump, it's basically gonna be them. The only team that has a chance of catching up is Milan at this point. Everybody else is playing for the Champions League, like Napoli, Como, Roma, Juve, and Atalanta. I still think maybe have a shot 5 points away from the fifth spot. Uh, but everybody else from Bologna on down, they can forget about Europe. They're not fighting for anything. And then you have that what is it, 7-way, 8-way race at the bottom. Well, it's actually a 6-way race because Verona and Pisa are pretty much going down. But there's literally 6 teams fighting for that last spot, which could still get relegated or promoted. And it's Genoa, Cagliari, Torino, Lecce, and Fiorentina, and Cremonese are still in there. So it's gonna be an interesting
Let
season, even though Inter has basically already won it.
But another team that's on the hunt for one of those Champions League spot, and I think it would be an overachievement for them, quite frankly, this season is Como,
It's your
who was the
favorite
next
team, bro.
match. Love Como; they've been playing awesome,
You
but
like them more
playing
than
against
me.
Cagliari in this one. Baturina, who has been playing awesome,
Yeah,
kicked things off for Como with a nice build up play, nice goal, right? A couple of touches. Finally falls to Baturina,
yeah,
who puts it in for Como. The second goal for Como actually was a beautiful goal from Dacuña, but before then, the other Esposito, Sebastian Esposito, tying things up for Cagliari in the 56th minute with a header. Good to see the other Esposito get on the score sheet as well for Cagliari. And again, Lucas Dacuña then scores a screamer for Como to give them the 2-1 victory in this one and still keeping them in contention for one of those Champions League spots for next season.
absolutely. Como has been definitely the most surprising team, not to you, right? Because you called it since match day one, but for a lot of people who don't really follow the league that closely and were not keeping an eye on the transfer market, and right and knew about Como and like what they were building. For a lot of people, that was a surprise. You came here the first day
Youssef
basically
Mash.
and said, Como is gonna be a force, or they're gonna be like a dangerous team. They're gonna be a team that's gonna be maybe even contending for European positions. I was like, I don't think so. Maybe mid-table. So I gotta give it to you that was a very accurate prediction right there. Um,
Just the way I saw them a ton last year, right? Their style of play, and we've talked about it. How some of these clubs in Italy just are struggling to change their playing style and are getting left behind. I feel that's a big right. We've talked about how that's becoming a glaring gap between the Italian league and some of the other leagues,
yeah,
right? The way that they play in the Premiership and La Liga and some of the other top leagues in Europe. Now we're seeing teams like Bodo Glimt, who, by the way, like had an amazing performance in the Champions League as well, won 3-0, and still surprising. But it's saying that there's other leagues as well that have adapted, that have developed great talent and great players, and are catching up.
yeah,
And Italy seems to be stuck on their way of playing and haven't evolved, and we're starting to see they're starting to see it in those European competitions.
yeah,
But Como, again, I played that Spain La Liga type of football, right? Under Fabregas, he's brought a lot of young, talented players from over there, right? Mixed in with some veterans, and he's getting production from all over the place, right? It's not always Nico Paz, which I feel last season it was very they were depending very heavily on Nico Paz. Now you're seeing other players stepping up, Dubicas, right? You're seeing Baturina, and a bunch of other players just having an amazing season under Fabregas.
yeah. I think he definitely does get the best out of the players that he has on his roster, but also I think it's very good management and good back office work when you get a manager the player that he thinks he needs in order to play his style of football. When you successfully do that, and then the manager delivers, it's beautiful. When a manager comes in with footballing ideas and you try to deliver on his ideas, and then it turns out like a Thiago Mota situation, it's the worst thing that could possibly happen, because then you end up with a bunch of players that are not compatible with other managers' ideas. So I'm glad that Como, you know, that it turned out well for Como, because we need another exciting team like that in the league.
And overachieving, right? Because I had him fifth. Right now they're sitting in fourth,
That's right.
given some other results over the weekend that we'll also talk about. But again, I feel Como surprising everybody, even me, because I had him fifth. I thought they would get a European spot, but they may end up a little bit higher than even I expected. For me, it was could they sustain losing players like Nico Paz, which we know that more than likely he's going to go back to Madrid or go elsewhere if somebody's willing to fork up a lot of money. But seeing other players shine, right, and seeing that they're getting production from all over the place, and even players coming off the bench, um, it's great to see that they've been able to find that. And I feel that if they have the richest owners in Italy, and I feel if they qualify for the Champions League next season, I think that they'll definitely uh, go wild during the next transfer window and reinforce the squad even more.
Yeah, I mean they have to be measured, because obviously, like we said in previous episodes as well, they're gonna be losing some players for sure. That always happens when you
Yeah,
have a bunch of people on
yeah.
loan. Um, but like you said, I think their ownership is serious. They've made the right type of investments. They've trusted the manager and the style of football that he wanted to play. And honestly, I really hope that this type of system, the style of play, and this type of management is contagious to other teams in the league that see the success that Como has had. And I know obviously not everybody's gonna be able to come up with rich owners. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
But rich owners are not right. It
Yeah, but they're
takes
not they're not bringing in these players that are super expensive players
right,
either, right? They're
right.
getting players on cheap for loan, right? A couple of years,
A couple of veterans
but
like
it's it
Morata and stuff like, but
yeah, and then filling out the rest of the roster with some veterans, right? That
yeah,
can also help those players, those younger players develop. Now it's
exactly.
going to be interesting if they qualify for the Champions League, if they can take that next step and kind of transitioning from being that type of club where it's a club where other big clubs can loan their younger players so they can get some playing time and develop on their Fabregas for a year or two and then go back to a club that can actually build from that foundation that they have right now, right, and continue to have that consistency moving forward.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. It's gonna be very interesting what happens during the summer with Como. Especially if, like you said, if they qualify and they're gonna have a little bit more cash flow, and they're gonna be able to count on getting that income from those 8 Champions League matches, which is nothing to scoff at. You know.
No. Then we had Atalanta Udinese in the next match of match day 28.
Exactly.
2-2 draw on this one.
Yep.
Two goals by Scamacca, goals by Christensen and Davis. On the Udinese side, Davis, I've read a couple of times that somebody Juve is keeping an eye on. I think Davis, if he continues to develop, I think he has that perfect build for a solid number nine. He's fast, he's
Yeah.
strong, right? He's athletic as hell. I think if he just gets a little bit better at finishing, he'll definitely be a force to reckon with, and he's already scoring. What do you think about some of those reports?
Honestly, listen, I wouldn't put a lot of stock in them just based on the fact that the Italian press likes to make up a lot of shit just to have something to write about,
True,
you know.
true.
Um, but I see those types of articles as more of a suggestion than what's actually happening. You know what I mean? Like
Mm.
somebody has an idea within the club, and they wanna suggest that somebody do it, and they leak something, some type of comment to the press, so that somebody writes an article. You know what I mean? And I feel that that happens way too much in Italy, and so a lot of these journalists, like we talked about Camillo de Michelis, right? You can't take them seriously. You know what I
Your
mean?
favorite
Because
reporter.
they're
He-
just clickbaiters. They just like to, he has. So Italian, right? And Camillo de Michelis has every week he has at least 3 episodes that say "ora basta" in the title, which is like, okay, now that's enough. He's always had it with some shit. You know what I mean? So that type of people, they're always trying to like bring up those negative
yeah, you gotta
emotions.
suss it through what's real and what's actual bullshit, right?
Exactly. There's a lot of
And
bullshit.
especially with titles like that, you already know that yeah, this is a clickbaiter.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so not I don't put a lot of stock into it because especially with the type of player and where he is right now in his development, it's not gonna certainly help Juve right off the bat. So, but I've talked about it, right? He has the prototype, right, and some of the traits to be a great number nine if he continues to develop. Good
Absolutely.
goal from him. Good goal from Christensen. A good header. But props to Atalanta as well on this one. Went 2-0 down, and were able to at least to bring it back to get a point away from this one. They've had a tough schedule, right? Loaded schedule. They have the Champions League match coming up as well.
Yeah.
2 goals, a brace from Scamacca, who again
Coming up big, which is great for Italy.
resurrected. Yep, good for Italy because we need it in these upcoming playoffs. But he's had like a resurgence in Atalanta. Has been getting a ton of goals, and he
Yeah.
scores a brace on this one. Just good all around, right? Because the first one um, came from a rebound. He heads it in. So he's scoring goals from headers. He's scoring goals 1 on 1, just creating space and getting it past the keeper.
Yeah.
So
Listen,
I hope that they give him some time in the
Scamacca
national team.
Scamacca is one of those players. You know how I'm always complaining about like how the best Italian prospects, as soon as they start playing well for a smaller team, they get shipped off to the Premiership, and every good prospect at a big team gets shipped off to some English team because obviously they buy them for way more than they're worth typically, right? But that was my complaint. Like people like my Scamacca, right? He gets shipped young elsewhere, and he doesn't really get the same amount of chances and playing times that he might have gotten in an Italian mid-table team. You know what I mean? And then he
Yeah.
comes back, and now he's had to ramp up again. And now that he's getting more consistent playing time, we can see what he can do. But imagine if Italian teams could find a way to keep those players in Italy playing
Mm-hmm.
consistently for mid-table teams, they would get a lot better national team results
Yeah,
for sure.
and another example was a player playing on the other side of the pitch, right? In Zaniolo, who same
Ex-
deal, right?
exactly.
Went abroad very early in his career, dealt with a ton of injuries. Now he's back with a mid-table team in Serie A, right? Has been able to start getting some consistency, stay healthy, and it's getting some results for their club.
Yeah.
So good to see, and something we talk about a lot here. Italian players need to stay in Italy. We talked about earlier, Casale, who scored as well, same kind
Same
of
thing.
deal, right?
Same thing.
Went from Inter to Chelsea, super young, right? It kind of disappeared. Came finally back in Serie A with a mid-table team again, being productive and developing.
Yeah, and they're always coming with that. The teams. It's always the teams owners who pay journalists to say that, oh, they're getting all this valuable experience at these big clubs. It's like, look, listen, we have
No, they're
big
not.
clubs in Italy too, and they're not really getting all that experience. Just sitting there watching that shit from the bench is not an experience. It's not gonna get you game ready for when you have to go to a national qualifier, and if you lose, you're out of the World Cup. That's the
Yeah.
problem. Like in order to get that experience, you have to be in the game when those moments happen. If you're sitting on the bench and it's you know Vinny Jr. taking that shot, like what experience are you getting? You're gonna be a great fan in the future, is what you're gonna be.
Mm. Yeah, but it's also that they're taking them to other clubs like Casale, Chelsea, right? They're like big clubs in other leagues that you know they're not going to get any playing time because if at least they go to like a mid-table club at another league and get some playing time, that's fine because they'll continue to develop.
True.
But when the expectations that much, being young, forget the name of the defender that Liverpool bought, and like he immediately got injured as soon as he got there.
Liverpool.
Great Italian defender that Liverpool signed.
Liverpool or Arsenal? You talking about Calafiori? No, Calafiori didn't get
No, no, no.
immediately injured. He actually playing pretty well in England.
It's not coming to me because he just got injured immediately and hasn't played. Giovanni Leone
Oh, Leoni. Yeah, 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 yeah.
went to Liverpool, immediately got injured, right? Hasn't played at all. Completely disappeared right after having an amazing season in Serie A.
Yeah, that
Right,
and
so
why? For
that
the
that
love of
type of
money.
thing,
That's it.
like going to clubs like that. Same deal with like Arsenal being interested in Esposito. Come on, like it's gonna be like it just keeps repeating itself.
Yeah, exactly. This makes no
So
sense.
hopefully that changes moving forward, and those Italian prospects stay in Italy and they favor Italian players and can continue to develop it, so we our national team can get better as well.
Yep, absolutely. I think they need to be on the field getting at least 30 to 50 minutes a match, something like that. Otherwise, we're just wasting our best talent. Like Italian teams need to do something, whatever it is, to keep these players in Italy and playing. Or like you said, if you're gonna send them away, send them to a place where they're gonna be a starter. Like not
Yeah,
a large team. Like if you
or at
if
least
you
get considerable playing time enough to develop and gain that experience, right?
exactly, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what
Next up, we had Juve Pisa.
Pisa? Yeah.
Juve being a bully on this one, right? 4-0.
They had kind of like a lame first half. The first half was basically like, "What are we doing? How come we can't score? This is ridiculous." And then in the second half, it was basically Cambiaso scored that goal, beautiful pass on the cross there. Uh, it was kind of like a very easy make, but we saw Jonathan David miss one just exactly like that one in the first half, where sometimes you feel like he's playing defense. Like, what is he doing? You know what I mean?
Oh,
Like,
dude, I saw a stat line that was that Milan in like 7 or 8 games has more goals than like Openda, David, and somebody else from Juve combined.
yeah,
It
you
was
you
crazy.
you know how sad that is. You know,
Yeah.
yeah, that's and they brought them here because they were like the at least Jonathan David. It was like, oh my god, what a steal! We're getting Jonathan
Hmm.
David for no signing money, and then he started asking for like 50 million just to sign. He ends up getting almost 10. So in the end, we did spend a bunch of money on this dude, and he gets fat immediately. The first thing he does when he gets to Italy is like he wasn't eating good food wherever the hell he was in France, and he comes to Italy, starts eating great food, gets super fat, can't run around the field, um, plays defender, like he gets the ball inside of the box, and the first thing he tries to do is pass it. He's like, "You're a striker, dude. Like, what's wrong with you?" I think he got hit in the head on the way here, but it's just it's not good enough. Honestly, if we have Vlaovic, like even Vlaovic, like would be amazing because that's like a at least a number 9 that could play with his back
But
to
do you
goal.
know doesn't his contract run up at the end of this season?
It does, but nobody wants him. so, he's trying to get a lot of money. Nobody's gonna offer him the
I
money he
would take him,
wants.
dude. If I were Inter, I wouldn't mind selling
You
Turam
you know what I
and
think
getting
is gonna
signing
happen?
Blaovic on a free.
I think Vlaovic is gonna resign with Juve. That's what I think is gonna happen in the end.
Let's see, but you guys need the production, but not in this one. Turam, nice to see that one of the Turam players is playing well. At least Turam scores from a good strike on goal from your favorite Juventus player Locatelli. Hits the post. Turam scores gets an easy rebound for the second, but Turam has been playing awesome for you this season, unlike his brother Marcus at
But
Inter,
but
that I feel
Locatelli
has
had a
taken a
good
step
game.
down.
I gotta say, like Locatelli, the first half it was like shit, like he played like usually, but then in the second
Mm.
half, I think they definitely ramped up. When Jonathan David came out, uh, at the end of the first half, and Federico Gatti came out, and they put in Lloyd Kelly and Jeremy Boga, you could immediately tell there's like a big difference because not necessarily due to Kelly, more because of Jeremy Boga. Jeremy
Mm.
Boga has been probably the best signing that you have made this year because
Which is crazy because compared to what they probably spent for David and some of the, and Open Da,
a third,
he was a lot cheaper than
a
those two
third,
players, I would
a
imagine.
third.
Yeah.
But David's signing bonus is higher than what Openda than what Jeremy Boga cost, like his entire sign the cartellino, right?
Yeah, because he fits a specific role that you guys were lacking. Do you think that's Paletti making that call and bringing him in, though? Because that's the only thing
Yes,
that has changed from the previous
yes,
transfer window.
yes, 100%, dude. And did you notice that Spalletti preferred playing with Yildiz as a false nine and putting Boga in than actually putting in any of his strikers? So he's got Openda and he's got David on the field, and he'd rather play Yildiz as a false nine and play Boga as a striker, as a winger, where Yildiz was playing. And then immediately the team starts playing completely different and score 4 goals in the second half. You think
And
that's
Yildiz,
coincidence?
right, scored the third one with another freaking nice strike
Great
from
goal.
typical Yildiz to the second post. Great goal.
Yeah.
Right, but it's opened up the play for him a little bit more because now you got a lot of different threats. And not only that, but three players that can take anybody on one, that can
Yeah.
cross the ball and can finish as well if you
I
give him space.
honestly, I would keep playing Yildiz as a false nine. I think that was a great move. And Yildiz as a false nine is always near the box. Like he's always hanging around the edge of the box. You give him the ball, he takes somebody one on one. It's a shooting opportunity. That's exactly what happened in his goal. You saw where he was standing. He wasn't standing off to the edge like where he usually is. When he's at the edge, the angle to actually do something and shoot is way narrower than when he's standing just looking at the goal from the center, right? So putting him at the false nine position, and then you put McKenny close to him, who's a great passer, and he does those 1-2 passes, and he cuts, and he creates a lot of trouble for defenders to try to track him. I thought that was the revolutionary move that changed the entire game. Just play with a false nine if our strikers suck. Let's just do that.
Great pass from Locatelli on that final Boga goal.
True.
Boga's first touch, beautiful to put the ball right past the keeper.
Yes.
Then takes the pause, has two defenders go through by him, and easy score for the fourth for Juve. But great goal for him, right? Because he's been,
But I
like you
love
said,
Boga.
the best signing that
So
Juventus
good.
has made. Great decision by Spalletti in bringing him in. Right, sucks that those players that you invested in right at the beginning of the season haven't panned out. We hope that
Yeah.
they can turn it around, or that Blauwich can come back soon, so Juve can make a strong run for the end of the season, especially with like other teams like Napoli, right, getting some of their players that have been out, right, coming back in.
You know
Juve's
what the
definitely gonna have
shittiest
to make
thing
a
is,
solid run.
bro? Like we have an obligation to buy Openda for $44 million. An
Oh my god! How
obligation
many
to
times
buy
has
Openda.
he does he even have 4 goals this season?
No, he does not.
Wow,
I think he has 2 goals.
wow,
It's
that's
it's
that's
bad.
sad.
It's bad. But bro,
That's,
like who watches Openda on tape? Like who watches video of Openda and looks at his frame and how he runs and thinks he could be a number 9? Like who thinks that?
I don't know. Well, I don't know if it was Tudor making the decisions, which I don't know what the hell
I doubt
Spurs
it.
were thinking in signing him, but
I
I don't know
doubt
if you
it.
saw
Listen,
his
bro.
decision making and how that played out for the Spurs in the Champions League. But if it was him making those
It
decisions back
wasn't.
then, I'm not surprised.
It wasn't. It wasn't. It was. You know what it was? We get a French director of football, Comolli. All of a sudden,
Mm,
we're signing a bunch of French players. Do you think that's coincidence? Jonathan Davis, Canadian. Canadians speak French.
mm.
Openda is French. Why did we give Openda's old team all that money? It's like he was playing at Lille. That's a French team. I think there's some sort of bullshit mafia move that Comoli was trying to pull to give money to this club because there's no other explanation as to why the hell you would pay $44 million for like a short, pudgy striker when you already have Conceição on one side, Yildiz, Zegrova. Well, they didn't have Zegrova at that time, but you had, you have Conceição and Yildiz on both sides. Like you don't need that guy. It was just a waste of money. We couldn't get Kolo Muani, and they were like, "Oh, if we get anybody, the fans will shut up," and they were wrong.
It sucks that they didn't only get one player that hasn't paid dividends. They got a couple of them.
Yeah, exactly.
But at least right, Boga has been awesome since coming on board. Definitely has become a go-to option for Spalletti. This formation seems to be working for Juve. So we'll see how they can continue to see if they can consistently keep this up right against other squads moving forward and try again at the very least to make a decent run and secure one of those Champions League spots for
Yeah,
next season, which is pretty much U.S. best hope for this
all they can
for
hope
this
for.
season.
I think they're gonna make it, honestly. But it's gonna be like last year. Last year we needed a penalty in the last game to make it.
Mm.
It's gonna be the same.
Then we had a battle from some of those teams that are battling to not get relegated. By the end of this season, we had Lecce playing against Cremonese. To nobody's help, because, well, no, actually, Lecce won. Sorry, I thought it ended 1-1.
Yeah, no.
Lecce actually putting it up against Cremonese, which is surprising, right? Because Cremonese definitely have been playing better, and I don't know what's happened to Cremonese because they started on fire, and I think as the season has progressed, they just can continue to bounce down the Serie A table.
Yeah.
Um,
And that was a
so
critical
I was
match.
surprised to see him lose this one.
That was relegation battle, So Lecce
Yeah,
really came through when
pretty
they
much.
needed to, and they got themselves out of the relegation zone with that win.
And scoring those two goals, right? The had Perotti with a good header, and then Stulic securing a pen, and then Bonazzoli scored one for Cremonese in the 47th minute, but it wasn't enough. But yeah, these matches are going to be interesting moving forward, right? To see these are clubs and players that are essentially fighting for their lives. Nobody wants to go down to Serie B,
Yeah,
right? That's a lot of money for the club, and that potentially means that you'll lose some of your key players, and some of the other players, right, will not get the same amount of exposure or experience, right, to be able to continue to develop. So
yeah,
great match on this one. Good win for Lecce. Crazy for Cremonese because again, I didn't expect them to drop so much based on how they started. But these are going to continue to be two teams that, for the rest of the season, are going to have to make a run to try to stay in the Serie A for next season.
yeah. And I know it's not as meaningful as Roma as Roma's defeat when it comes to the standings, but I think the next match was probably one of the biggest surprises of the match day. I know Roma's was a surprise, but this one, I was not expecting Bologna to drop any points against hella ass Verona. Nobody more Verona than hella ass Verona, but they got the win here. And they needed it, but it
Yeah,
doesn't make a lot of
what the
difference when it
hell's
comes to
going on
relegation race.
at Bologna, brother?
Bologna lost the plot. They were on a really good run, and then all of a sudden they've just been on a free fall.
Had some drama, got rid of some of their key players, and all of a sudden, and these teams are going to be dangerous, right, moving forward. That's why it's not all done and wrapped up for Inter this season, right? Because there's a lot of teams that are fighting to stay and avoid in Serie A and avoid relegation. So all
Yeah,
those teams are gonna give it everything, right?
everything.
Versus, so if it's a team like Inter, you can't fall back on it, which I feel they kind of did in the during the derby. Um, but these teams are gonna be dangerous. Those are gonna be dangerous matches for those teams at the top of the table that are looking to secure either the title or a Champions League spot for next season. Definitely wasn't expected for Verona to win this one.
especially
But
coming
Bologna
back
has been
because they
struggling so much that it's
Bologna
crazy.
went ahead first, and then Verona basically hit him with 4 goals in 2 goals in 4 minutes. You know, so it was like row in the 49th, just when in the 49th minute, and then in the 53rd and the 57th, it was Fraser and Bowie who scored. But it basically all the goals in the game were within a span of like an 8 minute stretch of, of play, which is crazy. But Calcio,
It's gonna be tough though for them to turn it around, right? Because that puts them 7 points, right, from Fiorentina, who are the team that are just outside the relegation zone. Pisa, I can say, this is just another nail in the coffin for them, unfortunately. Right now, it's sitting 15 points. And Lecce, where is Lecce sitting right now? Lecce in 16th place, so not great, right? Only 3 points from the relegation zone, but a good victory for them. Hopefully, they can build on this, right, and avoid getting relegated this season.
yeah,
But
yeah,
yeah, Bologna, not sure what the hell's going on there, but they got to change something because they made it to a point there like halfway through the season that it's like okay, they're starting to kind of show this the Bologna that we're used to for the last couple of seasons. But they've taken a complete dip. Uh, none as not as bad as the dip that the next team has taken, freaking Fiorentina, playing
yeah.
against
Well, it's
Parma,
going everywhere.
and a nil-nil draw on this one. Fiorentina, the most surprising team by far this season in a negative way.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they with the roster they have, it's like how they keep losing all these games. Like I could go manage this team and do a better job. I think it's it's insane to me. Parma is
And you're
always
already starting to see the
fighting for.
reports about Moise King,
Yeah,
right? Because you know that if they get relegated to Serie B, they're gonna
they
lose Moise King and some of those other
yeah
key
a
players.
lot of those
So
players.
it's
Yeah,
gonna get even worse, and it could get worse a lot very quickly for them.
yeah, it's true. Well,
But yeah, with the players they have, they shouldn't be struggling the way that they are. Another team like Bologna that I'm not sure what's going on, but they need to turn it around. Fiorentina right now again, like they're that bubble team with 25 points,
yeah,
just 1 point again away from the relegation zone. Lecce with 2 points, who are the team ahead of them. It's gonna be interesting to see if Fiorentina can hold on, or if and sad if they actually end up getting relegated to Serie B.
yeah, absolutely. It's gonna be a very sad day in the history of that club, which is a very storied club in Italy, and a lot of people love very much.
I don't know how long they've been in Serie A, how long it's been since they've gone down to
They
Serie
got
B, but
relegated during Calciopoli, so they
mm.
did go down during that time. So they've been in Serie B recently. I think they went bankrupt and they had to like recapitalize, and it's like a new organization and stuff like that. So Bologna, I mean Fiorentina has been through some troubles, but
And I think regardless whether they get relegated or not, they have to go into a rebuild essentially.
yes, yeah, I
Unlike
agree.
the next team that is quickly becoming one of my favorite teams in Genoa, who were one of those teams that were kind of fighting to not get relegated this season, but ever since De Rossi took over, he's kind of changed. I would say, along with Fabregas and Spalletti, these are probably the three coaches that have come in and completely shifted their teams. Right in Atalanta, right, kind of turned it around as well. But ever since De Rossi took over at Genoa, they've been playing great. Great assists for Juve and Napoli and the other and Como and the other clubs fighting for those Champions League spot, being able to get a victory against his former club in Roma that have been on fire, especially Milan, who was the player of the month for the Serie
Malen's
A.
been crazy. Malen, I wish we would have signed Malen. Like it's insane.
But yeah, Junior Messias, ex Milanista, getting on the board. Bitinha, who has been playing awesome for Genoa this season, scores the second. And the Endika for Roma, who has been playing well. Actually,
He's
Endika has
solid. That's
scored
a
a couple of
solid
goals
defender right there. That's a
for Roma as well.
very good center back
But
player for Roma.
surprising in this one, right? Because Roma has had their defense has been solid the entire season, right? Very very tough to get through their defensive line. With a team like Genoa, right? We would expect them to not to concede as many goals and to walk away with a victory, but Genoa completely transformed club in the way that they play since De Rossi took over.
Absolutely. If I were Juve though, like in the transfer market, I buy Manu Kone, Ndika, and Sambanguisa if I had $200 million. That's what I would buy. Because those three players, Manu Kone is insane in the midfield. He's great. He
Mm.
covers a lot of ground. He's creative. He's defensive. He can do everything. And Ndika is a strong, solid, fast center back who can also come up the field and score. So I mean, those are gems of players that maybe are not that famous, but every week, like week in and week out, they're making an impact. Ndika,
Yeah, but I think some Anguissa, if he goes anywhere, probably goes abroad in the
yeah,
Premiership
yeah, I'm
somewhere.
sure. I'm sure he's
Um,
gonna get a lot of
that'll
money.
be hard to compete.
He's
Yeah,
gonna, yeah,
I think Kone has been targeted by Inter by a lot. Inter talking about potentially selling Barella and a couple of other players, which is kind of crazy. But he's on their radar as well, so that will potentially be a battle in the market. But he's become such an essential player for Roma that if Roma do well and actually qualify for the Champions League, right, I'm not sure how much is left on his contract with Roma and what kind of clauses they have built into it. But I know Roma is gonna fight to keep him like they did when Inter approached them
yeah,
about signing them
yeah. And I think he's
before
happy
the
there too.
beginning of the
It's
season.
not like he's looking to leave or anything. So
And
he's
listen,
he
we've been to Rome. We've both been to Roma. Roma's an amazing freaking
amazing
place,
city. I love it.
right? And it's an amazing club with a lot of history and tradition. So that's what I'm saying. If they do end up qualifying for the Champions League with some of the signings that they've done, right, like Milan, who's been on fire since coming in,
Yeah,
um, I can get why he would be happy in staying in Roma, right, and fighting for the Serie A for the Champions League.
yeah. It's a solid place to be at. You know, I mean, it's it's always like a tough spot, tough piazza, how they say in Italian. They say a piazza. It's a tough piazza to play for because the expectations always high, even though they're not usually a title contender. But the Romans are very proud people, and they have like a very a footballing tradition that goes back a long time. And they've had a lot of legends, like Totti comes to mind. But I think not everybody is able to adapt there, but I think Gasperini is doing a great job, and they've shown that they have some defensive solidity, and the gaps that they had the first half of the season when it came to scoring were definitely alleviated somewhat by their signing of Milan, who, as you said
Mm-hmm.
earlier, has just been impressive.
But unable to come away with a victory in this one. Vitinha scoring the second um, for Genoa. This was another game where all three goals came in the span, literally of they were very at least two of them very
Two
quickly,
of them,
one
yeah,
behind the other, and then Vitinha sitting in with a great goal, right? A great team goal for the third one, which again I love to see. Genoa, again, since De Rossi took them over, they were fighting to stay alive and stay in the Serie A. Now they're sitting, I wouldn't say that comfortable, but at least a lot better
yeah,
than they were before De Rossi's come in. And he's had some tough matchups and almost pulled results against some of the top clubs in Serie A this season.
yeah.
So I think they're just going to continue to do better. I wouldn't be surprised if they actually climb up the table a little bit more when it's all said and done.
Yeah, in the end, they're not gonna be able to get like a lot more higher, but they do. From all
But
the
I could
teams that
see
are,
them right, even though Parma and Udinese are both playing well, which are the two teams right above them.
yeah, what I was gonna
Right, but
say is like they don't really have
Lazio
a
has
lot of
been
tough.
very inconsistent.
Genoa doesn't really have a lot of tough games left. Like if you think about it, if you look at their calendar, their remaining games, like the only top five. Well, actually, the only. Well, no, not that looks
Play
like they
Verona,
they still
right?
got they still
But
got
that's
Juve.
that's that's
They
gonna be
got
a good one.
they got Juve, Como, and Atalanta. Those are like the matches where they will possibly drop all the points. But every other game that they have in the calendar is doable from a Genoa perspective. You know.
Just a completely different team under De Rossi, which again is awesome. Awesome to see. Unfortunate because De Rossi was in the national team helping Gattuso out. I hope that doesn't take away from the Italian national team. But he's done an amazing job in turning things around at Genoa. So props to Genoa. Again, one of the teams that I've enjoyed watching the most lately in Serie A. And then we had the Derby
Della
della
Madonnina.
Madonnina,
Yeah,
Milan versus Inter, which I gotta say, as far as derbies go, definitely not the best watch. I think both teams certainly had their moments where they were dominating possession. Estupinian, who hasn't been playing his best, he got off to a great start, then got injured, and since coming back hasn't played as far as the expectations
yeah,
that the Milanistas had for him this season, but scores a great goal on this one to give Milan the lead. And unfortunately for Inter, they dominated possession like 62 against 38. But it's just the inability to create opportunities. Either than Di Marco, it seems that nobody at Inter really was doing anything. Esposito and Boni, who Boni does have those characteristics that he can take players on on one usually, did fail to do anything at all. He was a ghost during this match. Esposito as well didn't do much. None of the players that came in for Inter really added anything. Mkhitaryan had the best opportunity for Inter, who pretty much was 6 meters away from goal, and if he would have put it either side of the keeper, it was a goal for Inter, but puts it right against his chest,
yeah.
missing that opportunity. Probably the worst person that it could have fell to if you're Inter in that scenario. But props to Milan, who are able to put in a good performance. Right, I think they usually criticize Inter for a counter attacking style, and I think we got a little bit of our own medicine. And quite frankly, I think more than anything, this was an Allegri victory more than anything,
You think it was the management?
because he played the perfect game. He had that block set to a way that Inter just couldn't find a way through. No shots from outside the box for Inter. Very little coming in from sides, even from Di Marco. And again, Esposito and Boni, even the players that subbed that came in, didn't do a whole lot.
Yeah, that's true.
But Allegri, you could certainly see the impact that Allegri has had at Milan this season, even though some of their key players haven't been playing their best, right? Like Pulisic, who had a good game but didn't score in this one, but they haven't been scoring goals. Still able to edge out a victory, a 1-0 victory in a very important derby against Inter to keep Milan's hope for a Scudetto alive this season for now.
Yeah, I mean, for now, both teams have a couple of games still left against, you know, some of the difficult teams, but I think Inter pretty much still in cruise control because they've actually already played a lot of the larger teams. So
No, they still has some interesting fixtures to come, and it's Atalanta next week without Bastoni. Just they can't fall back, right, and put it in neutral. They gotta keep it going, and they should, right, especially now that you don't have the Champions League, right. You're still alive for the Coppa in Italia, but right, you can pretty much put all the eggs in the Serie A basket right now to secure the 21st Scudetto for Inter. Sorry, and but it was a terrible match, right? To see from a fan standpoint, terrible match. Not a whole lot was done. Even the players that came in, which is not a good sign. Then having some crazy reports, like I say, just talking about, especially trying to get rid of the Italian players, right? All centered around getting rid of Bastoni to Barcelona and trying to sell Barella. So if you were still gonna sell Barella, Liverpool would have probably gave you like 150 million last season for him.
yeah,
Because now you're probably gonna get like 55, 60 if you're lucky. Right, Bastoni, you could probably get a decent chunk of change from Barcelona, but why the hell would you do that? And again, they're two Italian players. There's so many players at Inter, especially that players that are over the hill that they can get rid of. That the fact that that's their play, this is what we need to do to get better. Let's get rid of Bastoni and Barella. It's just freaking crazy
Yeah,
and concerning. I've already been concerned about Optri having the ownership. Hope that they're not influencing these types of decisions. It's unlikely for Marotta. Even though I feel Marotta is awesome in bringing players in very cheap or at zero cost, but he's terrible when it comes to selling players at the right time and getting a return on your on investment from that standpoint.
yeah, and that was a problem we had at Juve also when he was there. It was, he's great at bringing them in, but then the out part is the part that's usually a problem. We end up, we used to end up selling players for a lot less than we paid for them, even if it was a player that we bought when they were young and we sell them when they're older, which is supposed to increase their value, right? Like sometimes, but go figure. Like Marotta has been really good for Inter for a couple of seasons. He's gotten some results, so you can't knock him. I think he's one of the best managers in European football still, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, for Inter, it's not that much to do. You got to secure the Serie A. I don't think they need to make that many changes moving into next seasons. I don't know why they don't give Martinez more opportunity on goal. If they do want to get rid of Summer, I would be completely fine with having Martinez step in as the number one. I think their biggest issue is defensively. They need to replace De Vrij and Acerbi. They're all over the hill, right? Acerbi, I feel, gave it all last season, especially in the Champions League. Like give the dude a hero sending out like he deserves. If he wants to continue to play, let him go somewhere else. But at Inter, I think like his best already we already seen saw his best, and it's not going to get any better. Same with Debray, right? He's been over the hill for a couple of seasons now. He's good to have as a sub, but he's not going to be a good starter. You have Bisek, who's been playing awesome, but they're also talking about if somebody offers us 50 million, we'll get rid of him as well, which is what pisses me off. If the point is to get young players, why the hell would you even consider
Sell
getting
them,
rid of
yeah.
Bisek? But they're probably just they have two signings that we already know are coming in the next market. They are gonna obviously uh, secure that option for Akanji, and Akanji is gonna become a permanent member of the club. And then Stankovic, we're gonna bring him from Club Brugge, and in the midfield, hopefully to replace Mkhitaryan and Çalhanoğlu, because I feel we still need Çalhanoğlu. He's been a huge miss, especially in the Champions League. So two signings that we know are already done. It's now going to be interesting to see what else happens, right, from an exit standpoint and who they go after. I know they're going to go after Kone again, but let's
That'll
see
be
what
a good
happens.
pick.
But Inter need to focus on the Scudetto right now.
Yeah, they do. Anyways,
Then we had Lazio playing against Sassuolo.
Lazio.
Lazio, the roller coaster team of the Serie A, can't seem to show any type of consistency under Sari. Did get a win in this one, a
They won that one.
pretty
92nd
early
minute
goal
win.
from yeah, and pretty early goal on this one from Daniel Maldini as well to open things up.
Yeah.
Kind of a sloppy first touch. I think he was kind of lucky that he was able to get that one, but a pretty easy tapping goal from him, scoring from a rebound to get things started. Surprising on this one because Sassuolo has been playing awesome as of late. But then Lariante, who's one of my favorite players at Sassuolo, who has been here there for a couple of seasons. Another French player, keeping up with the theme
The
for
tradition.
this pod. But awesome prospect, awesome player. Right, I've had my eye on him for a while. Scored a great goal in this one to tie things up for Sassuolo. But then in the 92nd minute, Marusic scores the game winner for Lazio, giving them all 3 points on this one. Sario almost had a heart attack. Finally get a win, but good header
Yeah.
from him to give them the lead in extra time. A much needed victory for Lazio. Kind of a stumble for Sassuolo, but completely fine given the way that they've been performing as of late, right, they're in a pretty solid spot at number nine, sitting at number nine at the table, and with a 10 point lead on Lazio. Sorry, no, they're a 1 point lead on Lazio. Right, we're right underneath them,
Yeah, one
so
point.
I think both of them are pretty solid. Are gonna finish mid-table this season. Definitely not in contention for any of the European spots, um, but also not in any jeopardy of potentially getting relegated.
That's true. Yeah, they're kind of like both of them. I think are in a pretty safe space, like both Sassuolo and Lazio at this point.
And that was it with the Serie A match day 28. Again, it's going to be interesting moving forward and looking at next week. We got Inter playing against Atalanta. That's one to keep an eye out moving into this weekend. Definitely, if Inter drops some points, the Serie A title race may get a little bit more interesting. I think we're both expecting Napoli to get a victory against Lecce, especially with having some of their key players back.
Yeah,
Juve Udinese will be an interesting one, right? Udinese have been in good form lately. Are a pretty physical team, so it's going to be interesting to see if this new formation that Spalletti has been playing, right, and that he used against Pisa, to see if he sticks to that formation or if he makes any changes given the opponent, right, and the more physical playing style of Udinese. What are your thoughts on that one?
um, I have to agree. There's gonna be pretty contested. Both teams are. I think both teams need a win. Udinese not that much in terms of like the difference is gonna make for their season, but just kind of to get some sort of they gotta get a flow going, right? Because we're not talking about Udinese on relegation terms. Obviously, at 36 points, and they're not really playing for Europe. They're basically playing to
No.
hold a mid-table position. So I think Juve have a lot more at stake in this match, and I think they're gonna come out, you know, showing that, which sometimes is dangerous when you do that against a team like Udinese because Udinese can hit you on the counter. They're pretty good, pretty
Mm-hmm.
physical in the midfield, so they can win that ball back and attack and counter attack pretty quickly. So it's gonna be a good watch. Udinese's dangerous team, and Juve's been known to show some weaknesses. I honestly feel like Juve feel a lot more solid with Bremer back and Perin on goal than with Di Gregorio doing the little modeling sidekick that he does on the line. But Perin is also short. Like I feel that they shoot a high ball is it going in. Uh, but Udinese are always dangerous, so I'm expecting a good open match. And I think Juve, if Spalletti does the false nine thing again, are probably going to end up crushing them.
Let's see, and then we have Como Roma, who's going to be another interesting matchup. Right, both teams in
Yeah,
the fight for the Champions League next season. Como actually tied with Roma right now as far as points, but above them due to a goal difference.
yeah.
So this is going to be a key matchup as well,
I
not
hope
only
they
for
draw.
both of those teams,
I hope
but
they
for
draw.
the other teams that are in contention, right? Because in Napoli, you would expect Napoli to come away with the win. You would favor Juventus against Udinese. So one of those teams or both teams of those teams are going to drop points. So that's only going to benefit Juve and Udinese if they're able to do their job
Exactly.
and come away with a victory. But that's another good one. And then we have Lazio Milan. Even though I would favor Milan on this one, Lazio, it's a wild card, right? And they play well when they or typically play well when they play against some of the other top clubs in Italy.
Yeah.
Coming off of victory as well. Milan with a lot more to play for, right? A lot more to lose. So I would expect them to show up and give it all, like similar to what you were saying about Juventus. But that's going to be another interesting one to keep an eye on. And then another battle for the relegation, right? In Cremonese and Fiorentina.
Yeah, that's a crucial match on
Yeah,
Monday.
this is a battle to see who just continues to sink further and further to
Yeah.
the bottom of the Serie A table and potentially Serie B.
Yeah.
And
Sassuolo
other
Bologna.
than that,
That's a very interesting
yeah,
match too. I wanted to say that we have also next weekend, but Do we want to have a
But
moment
yeah,
of
the only
silence?
other thing, right? We had Atalanta, the only team still battling. I
Are
wouldn't
they
say
playing? Are they
that
playing in the
were
World
were
Baseball Classic?
potentially
Are they
that
playing the
were
Baseball
potentially
Classic?
battling
What's that
for it.
score?
Uh,
Are they playing baseball?
6-1 defeat,
6-2.
unfortunately, against Bayern. This was just a clinic.
6-1.
Bayern, obviously, on a completely different level. And in my opinion, probably one of the favorites to win the Champions League, if not the favorites this season,
Yeah, they
with
have
the
to
amount of
be.
talent that they have. Getting scores from everywhere too, from Olise, who has been playing on fire this season. Only Pasalic able to get right one for back for Fiorentina in the 93rd minute, but this was complete domination. From a Bayern standpoint, playing Atalanta was playing at home as well, so doesn't help them that now they have to go over to Germany for the second leg. So I think this is pretty much done for Atalanta, and now they can just
Focus on the
pretty
league.
much focus on the Serie A moving forward to see if they can make a final run and potentially, if not a Champions League spot, at least right play in a European tournament for next season.
So you're saying Atalanta can't beat Bayern 5-0. That's what you're saying.
No, if they needed 3 or 4, maybe, but there's no way in hell that they're gonna make up the difference that they
Nah,
have.
there's a lot of goals.
Away game as well against Bayern. Yeah, that's never gonna happen. I'll be surprised honestly if they get 2 on the board.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, they
And
can get two.
Bayern is gonna play with their entire bench. Like none of their key players are gonna start this one.
Yeah. So you think Atalanta is gonna focus on the league and then they're gonna come out all systems go against Inter?
Yeah, I think at this point, right? What else are you gonna do?
They
So it's
should
gonna
have
be
an
a good
agreement that says
battle of the
whoever
Nerazzurri.
loses gets to has to change their uniform.
It's gonna be interesting. I'm not sure where they're playing. If they're playing in San Siro uh, or not. Let me see
They are
what
playing in San
stadium.
Siro.
Okay. So Inter probably is going to be wearing the Nerazzurri on this one, but the battle of the Nerazzurris is going to be an interesting matchup because Inter has been struggling. Right, this is right now over 180 minutes where they haven't found the back of the net. So
Yeah.
it's going to be an interesting one. But with that, peeps, we're wrapping it up for another episode of Serie Addicts Match Day 28.
Yes,
Marco
sir.
Romano and Tito Yang. We appreciate you guys tuning in. Please feel free to like,
Like,
comment, and subscribe.
subscribe.
And catch you on the next one. Peace.
Alrighty, yo.